Jessica Alstrom, spiritual teacher, medical intuitive, and quantum integration specialist, answers your spiritual questions and assists you through understanding your personal process while providing tools and techniques to move swiftly through the journey back to light.
Hello and welcome to the Transcendence Podcast. This is your host, Jessica Alstrom, and I am live from Transcendence today. Decided to do a podcast after a couple of weeks of being kind of on hiatus, working through some business development and really just gearing up for, big changes in not only our company, but in the world. And if you've been following Second Sunday, and probably everyone else's teachings out there, that we are in the process of big change. And instead of change, that word can be scary to the ego. So, what I like to say is we are in the process of evolving. And you've probably noticed over the last year, looking back at your life, regardless of how far you've come or how and where you're judging yourself in this moment, you've done a lot of evolving. You've done a lot of growing. You've done a lot of becoming very aware of yourself and others and your ideas and your hopes and your dreams. And that's exactly where we all need to be right now. And it's just about, what if and what's next and what could possibly be and staying out of the fear of the big changes that are basically right under our feet. And the last couple of Second Sundays have been a little kind of bittersweet for me as well, because I'm not really one as a teacher who focuses on anything that is really too solid as far as like politics or, conspiracy theories or anything like that. I usually just try to stay in the frequency and vibration of creation, which is you are who you say you are, and you become what you say you are, and that should be your life. And that really is the truth of everything that we're going through. But at the same time, I wanted to, not ignore that the whole concept of our collective agreements, which politics and government fall into collective agreements, is that, for a really long time, we have given our power away. And that's why our government is in the position that it is in today, is because we have given our power away. And probably over the last year, what you've been noticing, your biggest evolution is where you're taking your power back, and where you're taking your voice back, and where you're taking, control back of, your own deliberate creation. And that's not always comfortable. Change is the third law of creation, but it doesn't mean it's comfortable, especially to the lower selves that we operate at an ego level. The ego does not like change. It doesn't feel safe in change, and change basically means the unknown, and that's the scariest place for the lower part of ourself to be. If you've been following my work, I like to teach on empowerment. I like to teach on ways to take our power back by getting to know ourselves, because really at the end of the day, your real true soul purpose for being here is to self-realize. We think it's to come down here and help the world and have a big purpose and do all the things that our gut is urging us to do, but really what our gut is urging us to do more than anything is to self-realize. And what does that mean exactly? To self-realize is to know all aspects of self. And not only to know all aspects of self, but total self-acceptance, which means that, whatever limitations and challenges that you set up for yourself on this journey to self-realize, that those are also accepted and loved. Because, if you followed my teaching, I teach a lot about, not giving so much power to this solid reality that we believe circumstance actually is, and looking at reality more of a metaphor of a video game, and how, there's a strategy involved from the second you pick up, your gaming device to the second you turn it off. You've set the intention to win the game, to learn how to be that character. And no matter how many times that you have to fall down or die in the video game, you are coming back to play that character, to basically learn all aspects of that character's strengths and knowledge and wisdom, and that's what you would call an old soul. It's someone who has literally, and not necessarily on this particular plane of reality, but at some point has had enough life experience to have such a familiarity of the game that it's no longer judging itself, and it is playing for the pure pleasure of playing. And when you look at the video concept, you're looking at, moving along, learning character, learning the game, hitting challenges, learning about challenges, moving through the challenges, and then once you're ready to complete the level, usually at the end of the level, you're faced with a great, basically, combination of all those tiny challenges all at once. And I decided to do this podcast and call it A New Level is a New Devil, or, New Level, New Devil. And what that means is every time you rise up above who you have been, you will be faced with a concoction of, we call it here transcendence. Oh, you're just hitting your dragon. And what that looks like is when you've been raising your vibration and working on yourself and clearing house and getting different friends and, spending more time in solitude and working on your health issues and working on your financial freedom, then usually was when you are faced with your biggest obstacles because you're really moving forward. And so what you're doing is you're gathering energy, and you're gathering the energy of all of what you've been and all of what you're not and all of what you could be and all of what you're afraid of. And at the end of that gathering is the manifestation of your great challenge. And so people come to me all the time and they say, oh, I've been doing so good for 2 weeks and I was so high and, everything was going great and I was starting to manifest, and then bam, this happened. And if you followed my podcast, or if you're involved with TICA, which is my Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, we are very familiar with the concept, and all of our coaches and light coaches learn that. First off is that every time you accelerate past the point of who you've been, you will be faced with a shadow of all that you are afraid of. And the beauty of that is to be aware of the game. It allows you to be less afraid of it. And if you can look at everything as, a storm that you've got to figure out how to find solutions to get through, then afterwards you're empowered and strong and you're unafraid because you've moved past that level. Another beautiful thing about that is this hologram we call Earth is literally set up exactly like virtual reality. So once you've mastered a level, you don't have to do it again. You don't fall all the way back down. You actually just begin again at the new level. And we would call these levels lessons, right? And we find ourselves hitting lessons with our relationships and our body. And I will tell you that right now, the end of 2016 represent the energy threshold of take your power back. So you are probably being asked all day, every day to speak up, to take your power back, to say no, to let people go and things go that have been draining you for a really long time, to give up limiting belief systems, to clear your subconscious of all of its trauma and pain. And you're asked to be more aware that it even exists. Because if you can even be aware that these shadow aspects of yourself still reside and that's what you're resisting, then just awareness alone brings light to the situation, and light is information. It is photonic energy, and therefore you cannot be light and dark at the same time, because even a crack creates light. And that's all we need, is we just need a crack. We just need it to crack so that we can be more aware of ourselves and who it is we choose to be. So if you look at this election, it is basically a very transparent analogy of the human ego. One is very extroverted, and one is very introverted. One is very feminine, one is very masculine, one is very dark, and one is very, let's just say they're both dark because all ego is dark, but one of them is appearing to be more of the light, which if you've noticed with your own ego, at times you sabotage yourself because you think that you're protecting yourself. And so the election is basically the perfect representation of the human ego. Both sides, both sides of the polarity of the human ego, which is think about your own mind. At times you're super arrogant and then totally insecure in the same breath. And so this election is projecting forth for us to let us know of what we have collaborated in the realm of lower vibrations to demonstrate to us exactly where we are vibrationally at any given moment in time. And so life is a reflective object. The universe is one big reflection. And what this is teaching us is that we don't want ego to guide our lives anymore. We don't want ego to run our country. We don't want ego to keep us separate from each other, because both of these candidates are playing on the fear to protect you somehow from others. And that right there is segregation, and that is the smaller version of yourself. And so this academy that I have put together has nothing to do with you learning a spiritual modality or, becoming the best healer in the world. This academy that I'm developing with its workshops and certifications in spiritual development is all about how to live and breathe as the higher perspective of yourself, which means that your specific abilities and gifts are to be self-realized for you, so that you're not here recycling someone else's spiritual modality so that you can get certified. Because as you become more authentic, what you do is you actually put all of those things that you've learned together to create your specific modalities, your specific teachings, your specific examples. And so that's what our academy is actually set up to do, is to align and promote total freedom of living as a total, transparent, authentic, higher version of yourself. And so what our job is to learn self-realization, is to get to know aspects of ourselves that we have abandoned, and to heal those aspects and accept those aspects in a way that we are not pushing them away or trying to get a certification to gain confidence, but other than to move through the journey of self with a support system that is acting as a blind spot for you, so that critically, when you are feeling stuck, blocked, or alone, that you have 50 to 100 people around you at any given moment to remind you exactly of how powerful and wonderful and perfect you are at any level of that game. Because think about it, if you're playing a video game and you turn the game on and you start playing, no matter what happens during that game, when you turn the game off, you are still the same person sitting in the chair. And you just went through an experience, and maybe that experience changed you, and maybe it got you to feel more confident or less confident during the game. But that's all it actually was a significant virtual reality where you went through and had an experience. And so what I want to do today is kind of give you guys some peace in knowing that in the what's coming is just a series of this planet asking you over millennia to take your power back and to remember who you are, and the bigger part of you, to let that person guide and light your world instead of following fear, follow love. And that's where all the magic is right now, because we have to kind of love our way out of this situation. We can't fight our way anymore. We've done that, we can look at the history and know that we have tried that and it doesn't work. So definition of insanity right there. So where are you at war in your own life? That's your game, and all you have to do is take our power back. And that does not mean, fight in a war, because that is actually very disempowering. When you're fighting someone, lives are lost. When you're loving someone, 2 lives are healed, 3 lives are healed, 4 lives are healed, even if you're just planting the seed. And that's where we have to use as we're moving forward to defeat all of these new devils that rise to the surface, is to see yourself completely limitless and unbroken and perfect, regardless of the challenges that you've set up for yourself. Because we like challenges. That's why we fall in love with our wound mates instead of our soulmates right off the bat, because we want the challenge of being in that reflective space so that we can know exactly who it is that we are and what we've disassociated ourselves from. And we learn that through relationships. We know that law of reflection is the law of, the magnetic force, which is like attracts like. So you've never been in a relationship that you weren't a vibrational match to, even if that sounds kind of scary. There had to have been an aspect of that other person that was in resonance or in the same pattern or in the same belief system that you have. And what I teach is that, you come in with a specific theme, and your specific theme is kind of like the object of the game. And so my specific theme that I came in with was, I want to learn what being free feels like. So freedom is my theme. So I have set up so many challenges and obstacles for myself where I am still learning how to be free in all aspects. And so in order for me to actually have a game to play, I chose a theme, I chose a character, and then my whole entire objective of this reality is to feel and have total freedom in all aspects of my life. And so I'm not going to make that easy for myself, because that's not who you are as an old soul. You are here for the great challenge. And the older of the soul you are, the harder the game it is. And because you don't want an easy game, you want total self-realization. You want to be able to go all the way in the dark and come all the way back into the light and still have complete unlimited access to your authentic self and being. Which means, get some scrapes and some scars on the way, but at the end of the day, we have wisdom, we have knowledge, we have inner strength, we have knowing, we have self-love. And those are what we want to walk away from this game with. And we don't want to be defeated because of a relationship that reminded us of someone from the past. We want to use that relationship as our guiding force to take our power back. And if you've listened to my podcasts, I talk about how patterns will continue to repeat themselves until they're completely broken. And you do not break your patterns by going to a healer and saying, please cut the cord of, my past sexual relationships. You cut the cord and you stop the pattern by totally accepting and healing the situation. And that can be in so many different forms. Sometimes just standing up for yourself in a relationship where you've always been a doormat is you taking your power back, and that severs that cord right then and there. You saying no when you're used to a lifetime of saying yes, regardless of how you feel. Those are cutting cords. So no one can do this for you. And your higher self is not going to let the codependence of a healer or a teacher come in and cut your cords for you. That's not how you set up the game. You did set up the game, though, that you would leave clues for yourself and synchronicities and other co-creative beings to help you along the way. Messengers, reminders, synchronicities, and little treasures that you can pick up as you move along. And that's really what you're supposed to be looking at all guidance as you are the master. And anyone that is assisting you is just there to help you move ahead. They are not there to do your journey for you. And that's where a lot of us get lost and stuck. I've even changed in my academy. When I first opened my academy, I offered weekly sessions to all students. And, then they had 3 or 4 hours of teaching, and then they had a private session. And what I realized is when they missed their private session, they were really upset. And so I decided to take private sessions away and integrate them into only once a month, because the name of the game is to be able to count on yourself. And as long as you have the information and the guidance and the messengers and the little treasures, then being with someone constantly who's going to tell you or remind you how to do it is actually going to become kind of a handicap for you long term. So I noticed when I started doing this in our academy, everybody started to mentor each other and work with each other, which means they would do a session, and halfway through the session, one of them would be working through their blind spot and then switch, and the other one would be working through their blind spot. And everyone started to go really quickly on their spiritual journey. And because, again, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to have, the session with the teacher. I even removed myself from the website as far as offering services, because this is the time in history where it is time to take your power back. And I'm doing it in my own life. I've decided that, it's never really felt good for me to operate business in the third dimension, because really, honestly, it just doesn't even resonate. So I've decided just as a few weeks back, that I'm going to be turning all business over to a nonprofit so that I can really give back and be part of the change instead of being part of, trying to build a company to create employees and things like that, which doesn't resonate in where we're going as a species. It's really getting back to collaboration and community and service. And so the best way for us to do that at Transcendence is to turn everything into a nonprofit and offer educational curriculum for not only school systems, but for adult education in the spiritual development and consciousness areas. Create communities, get back to sustainable living, and really highlight and support other people throughout the world that are already doing this, and really help their companies grow and their nonprofits grow and their foundations grow. And so over the last couple of weeks, we've been facing our own series of dragons to do this, and to turn everything over into a place of just complete collaboration that feeds and clothes everyone without a paycheck in that way. So that feels really good. It feels really new. It feels really scary, but at the same time, it's a perfect challenge of who we say we are. And we've always been the type of group here where our biggest example is to walk our talk and not pretend that we're not going through our own, collective growth spurts and going through our own challenges and our own relationship challenges and, raising kids in this world of just constant change and learning, how to basically do what the ancients knew how to do with, we don't have ancient common sense yet. We're learning all of that. We're learning that the ground and nature is the one that provides our medicine for us when our vibration is out of alignment. And we're learning that we can count on each other, and we are learning all of these things about ourselves and each other that we never knew. And then so we are really, really succeeding. And I want everybody to know that we won, that we win. Love wins, and the outcome of whatever is going to be happening in your personal life or with collective, we win. The outcome is guaranteed because we've already started to do the personal work, and that's all it ever took was for a third of the population to really, really look within. And what that did was it created a threshold that changed the whole planetary outcome of the destruction that was set. And now it's just moving into, we're in cleanup right now. We're basically, as a species, we're in the cleanup phase. And if we know about cleanup phases, they're the messiest. And through cleanup, you're going to find more messes. And you're going to find things that you've been ignoring for a really long time that are going to smack right into your face like a dirty closet. And that's all that's going on with our government, is that the truth is being exposed, that as a collective, a long time ago, we gave up our power and we bought into a system that was basically a system of slavery that we didn't even know that we were enslaved in. And so I guess the purpose of the podcast is really first and foremost to look at what dragons you're facing right now in your life, and to look at those differently, because perspective changes everything. If you can look at something that's going on in your life right now as a game versus something that's real, and the challenge that you're facing is about self-realization, not you being, loved or unloved, but how I can self-realize even more in this process. And what is this teaching me? And what is this relationship pushing me to? Because what I've seen over the last 2 weeks is you're being pushed into taking your power back. Pushed. It's like it's no longer like a choice. You might hit all the way rock bottom for a couple of days, but somehow that just gets you into your power instead of into a victim energy. And so maybe you get pushed down at work, but then you get the power back to take your power back at home with your relationship. Or you say, you know what, that's it. I'm tired of feeling sick. I'm changing my diet. Or I'm tired of this. So that's what I'm noticing a lot in the last couple of weeks is people are getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. People are getting sick and tired of being abused. People are getting sick and tired of being lied to. And so when we are sick and tired of that, then we have to change something inside of us that allows us to have been pushed around in the first place. And so if you look at your life like a video game, and you understand the law of reflection, and you understand that every participant in your life, whether that be an inanimate object, a person, an illness, a financial problem, is just an obstacle, then it actually becomes quite fun. And you go into a higher perspective. What you always need to be right now is anytime you feel fear, I'm going to give you a little tool. Anytime you're feeling fear, go into a higher perspective of that fear. Go above the problem. Go above the situation and ask yourself, how would my higher self see this situation? How would the perfect version of myself, the God-spec version of myself, see this situation? What am I learning here? How is this serving me? How is this particular thing that I've manifested serving me to take my power back, get my voice, get my strength? How is this serving me? Because then it becomes a clue. And the clue is a lesson that brings you into acceptance and awareness of who you really are. Because if you start to feel like, wow, I was doing so good and I just manifested this and, our relationship was going so good, and then all of a sudden this happened. If you feel that way, then you will start to feel disempowered by your own raise in your own vibration, which means that your body is going to learn every time you go into a higher vibration, the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. And that is going to tell your biochemical computer, which is your body, that it's not safe for you to raise your vibration. Because every time you do, something happens. So we got to change that belief system right then and there and right now and say, okay, I'm going to look at this particular situation from a higher perspective. Because as soon as you do that, you move up the tone scale of the frequency chart, and you move back into empowerment. Because you have to be in empowerment in order to look down at your own fear and see it properly. Because when you're in the fear, you can't see the fear. Your nervous system's frozen. Your body's living in the past. Your ego is going into memory. And now you are in full self-judgment where you have absolutely no power. So what you got to do is you got to be aware enough, especially right now, with everything that's occurred and the energy that's sitting on the planet waiting to be used at your disposal, to go higher perspective. See the challenge as an obstacle. See the challenge as part of a game. And see what is in your toolbox. What is in your toolbox right now that you have to defeat this particular fear? Is it your empathy? Is it your ability to understand? Is it your sixth sense, your knowing? Is it your intuition? Is it a skill set? Is it journaling and speaking your truth? Is it doing some time travel and getting into, where you created this victim energy? Is it finding the pattern at its original root of why you continue to have the same relationships over and over again? It is to focus on your security issues and your childhood issues when money's not flowing. It is to look at your own sexuality and see where you are in guilt and shame and humiliation and rise above how you see yourself in this particular life. Because you'll know exactly where your ego is playing you based on how you see yourself through others. Which means that if you are in a relationship and you do not think highly of yourself when you're in that relationship with that person, your ego is using that person against yourself and playing you. And so you've got to become more aware that you are just reflecting that energy back to yourself, and that it has nothing to do with the person that triggered you in the first place. The person who triggered you was a good reminder of you what is sitting in your subconscious mind already. And if you are taking your power back, what that will look like right now is you're making big life changes. You're getting up and doing something that you've never done before. You're changing your whole discipline and behavior and how you've lived, eat, breathed, slept. You're saying, you know what, it's not okay that I'm not sleeping anymore. And you're taking action to start getting your body rested. You're saying, you know what, I'm sick of this stress that I carry in my tummy every day, and I'm willing to learn all I can about myself, my vibration, my emotions, and my body, and get to know why this keeps happening instead of just band-aiding it and trying to move on. Because it may look like you're moving on, it may look like the years are passing, it may look like your body's aging, but you're not. You are not growing past a trauma. You are not moving past a pattern. You may have a different face, a different place, a different job, but if that pattern is in motion using the law of attraction, you will find yourself in that exact situation over and over and over again, even if it's a different place, a different space. And so you've got to be aware of where your patterns originated. And that's the whole concept of why I'm training so many life coaches and spiritual teachers right now, is because finding these blind spots and helping people self-realize and teaching people that it's safe to totally self-accept is what the world needs right now. We need more music and artists and creative people and messengers and space holders and lovers than we do professionals. And so that's my gift, is to use what I've become and what I am becoming as a way to help others in the same way that I was helped with my own higher self. And now I'm starting to collaborate with people who are teaching me every single day more and more about what I'm capable and the power that I can generate just by myself. And I don't feel alone anymore. And that was one of the biggest things that I came in with, was this sense of being alone, even though I was surrounded by people. And I actually felt lonelier when I was in relationships. And so I didn't realize that was a pattern that you carry everywhere. You carry into business, you carry with everything, and you feel like you're not supported at a very core level. But that would make sense, because if we came in to challenge and limit ourselves so that we could totally self-realize, then we're going to probably believe as higher conscious beings that we are alone, and that would be part of the game. So a new level, a new devil, all that means is that when you rise above your old life, you're going to be challenged with the storm of who you've been. And all your job to do is to go above that storm, just like an eagle would fly above it and look down on it and see it for what it is. And it's just energy in motion, a motion that has clustered together to manifest a ghost-like energy that is there to see if you have really changed your state of being. Your state of being is unwavering. Your state of being would not budge regardless of if someone left you or you got fired from your job. You would still remain the same. And if you really want to know what that looks like, just look at a tree. Because a tree is very deeply rooted in itself, and it knows itself. And it is able to basically, go through weather and storms and be the exact same energy as it was before the storm. If not the same, better, because now it has braved and courageously stood its own vibration and its own consciousness in the storm and realized that it was never the storm and it was never anything that could touch it, and it was life itself. It was nature itself. It was the storm itself. It created the storm to see how strong it had become. And so I wanted to give you this gift today and basically let you off the hook, because you're all working so hard and you're doing such a fantastic job. And every time I tap into collective consciousness, I can see that one more layer of fear is being removed. And very soon, within our next generation, they will know peace. They will know health. They will know working together. They will know, abundant nature-based technologies that sustain a planet and move a planet not just through its own existence, but into the higher dimensions to create unconditional love that nature generates every day into its species. And that's where we're heading. And so I just wanted you guys to know that no matter what you're going through right now, if you're going through hell right now, it's because right on the other side is your heaven. And it always, always, always is better after the storm if you can hold your frequency and vibration, no matter what is happening. And remember, what is happening, you are creating so that you can learn more about yourself. Nothing is bad. There is no negative. There is only reflection of who you have disallowed yourself to become in order so that you can see who you can become through that reflective storm. And I talked about this in Second Sunday a little bit, but your tricks again to follow up is higher perspective. Because when I look at everything that I need to change within my business model and the people that I need to bring on and the changes that we need to make, the only way that I could survive that is to go from a higher perspective and look at the expansion and the greatness that can come of all of that. Because from a place down below in the lower self, it feels like change and it feels like losing something. And that's not at all what it is, because it's total expansion. And so a lot of times you'll feel like your storms are losing something, you know? But think about it. If you get out of that abusive relationship or out of that abusive job, then you're opening yourself up for the right ones. And every time you behave, you teach the universe how to treat you. Every time you act, you're teaching the universe what to give you next. And so if you start behaving as a higher perspective, conscious being that understands its challenges as a way to self-realize and grow, then the universe will stop giving you so many challenges, because you start defeating the game before you even have the challenge. We call it pre-manifestational awareness, which means you can feel the energy building. And so you take responsibility for your vibration before you have to manifest the outcome of something and learn the hard way. And you're all capable of doing this. And if you can just look at other people or your own past to show yourself what's coming, you'll never be blindsided, because you're just creating situations for yourself to quickly self-realize, especially now in the new energies. You know, the Lionsgate energies really opened up a lot of new and old ancient wisdoms that's flowing through all of us now and activating our DNAs so that we can become that Superman version of ourselves, that Wonder Woman version of ourselves. And don't be afraid of your light. The only reason you've been afraid of your light is because every time you've risen your vibration, you faced the dragon and you thought the dragon was a failure. That's it. You're not afraid of your light because you are light. You aren't anything other than light and love. So anything in the way is a belief system. So I'm going to leave you guys for that today, and let you know that your only job is to go higher perspective when things feel challenging. Practice taking your power back. Practice taking your power back in a loving way. Practice taking your power back by self-loving throughout the day. And don't forget to remind yourself of all the self-loving things you are doing. Because people come to me and say, okay, so how do you love yourself? I said, well, what did you do today? Well, I got up and I went to the gym and I drank water and, I had a smoothie. And I said, well, were those self-loving? Well, the workout wasn't fun. Well, did it feel good in your body? Yeah, it did. Are those self-loving things? Yes. So a lot of times your ego has talked you into the fact that you don't love yourself. Yeah, you really do. You really do. And maybe you're sabotaging yourself, and that's your ego's way of self-loving you, by not showing up and saying, I just can't face this energy today. It's all about moving away from guilt and shame on how you see yourself and saying, you know what, I'm just going to be more aware tomorrow in my habits and routines, because believe it or not, the universe is listening more to your habits and routines than your thoughts. Your thoughts are electric, okay? Your feelings are magnetic. Your actions are both. Your actions are the perfect storm of creation. So it has nothing to do with what you say or think. It is all about bringing those two things into form and creating action. Because when you move and do and behave, you are going to manifest very quickly in that direction of your behavior. So it's not about thinking, okay, well, I'm really going to leave this relationship and then staying in the relationship a year. You're going to face hurricanes. You're going to face tons of storms because you're not acting as if. And I'm getting ready to launch a big workshop. If you guys have studied my podcast, you know that you are spirit and you are body. And spirit is very aware of who you are, and body has learned basically who you're not. And so if we're going to change the character and really move into that epigenetic process of becoming who you say you are, we've got to practice behavior that downloads into the subconscious mind, and that subconscious mind then becomes the character, and the character speaks to law of attraction, and law of attraction brings you everything you want based on the character you're playing. And with my Hollywood background, I've studied a lot of acting and method acting and things like that. And so, you always hear, set an intention, set an intention, set an intention. But the more important thing than setting an intention is acting on your intentions. Acting on your intentions. That is the biggest thing that you're going to be doing in your life ahead, is setting an intention and acting on the intentions. Not setting intention and then counter-intending yourself with the thought of you can't do it later. That basically reminds law of attraction of your old character and brings you people, places, circumstances, and events that represent your old character. So I've decided to do a big workshop where I basically teach people how to act. And it's all joy-based and it's all fun-based, and it teaches you how to totally embody the character that you choose to play. How to basically teach your body to live as higher self through learning how to act. And we integrate remote viewing into this and parallel realities and all kinds of aspects into this method acting workshop that teach you how to fully body, breathe, speak, and attune yourself to who you say you are versus who you've been. So I'm really excited about that. It's one of my highest joys because you don't get anywhere without intentions, and if you don't act on the intentions, nothing manifests except the same old stuff. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Look at our website for upcoming workshops and classes, and that particular one will be a downloadable. You do not have to attend live. It will be totally international capability done through video recordings. And curriculum. So look for that one because I'm actually in production of that right now. And our website is www.transcendencekc.com, and my international basically spiritual development courses are TICA, and that is found through our website as well, and you can find that information. If you're interested in any of our academy classes and you want to see if you're a good fit for that, I will do a consultation with you to see if you're a good fit. Otherwise, I do want to recommend that you, if any of this information resonates, I have taken a handful of people through a graduation process where they are completely living in their intuitive life coaching abilities to take you from where you are to where you want to be, and those coaches and light workers are right on our website for private sessions. So I look forward to working with all of you at some point and getting to know your business and your nonprofits and your ideas. And we love your emails of ideas, and keep sending us your emails of podcasts. And we wish you empowerment, and go take your power back this week.